Guys, very, very, very happy to be with you all here today for this event today. Fintan mentioned CR2 has the feet in the ground and the heads in the cloud. My goal today is to show how we can have the eyes on that crystal ball. And I was mentioned, my passion, my focus in life is the future of money and the future of finance. And I want to share with you some of the big developments we are seeing and hopefully empower you with this information and then let you make your own decision on what Fintan called the opportunities that may be with digital. And before I start, as we talk about crystal balls, I always give a warning. Is whoever tells you they're an expert on the future of money, you see the door there and you run away. I can tell you I spent 24/7 of my time in this space and have absolutely no idea where we're going to be 1 month from now. This space is like dog years. Really, a week in this space is like 7 weeks in the normal world. Just the last 24 hours, we had a Lehman Brothers moment in the digital asset space that completely changed the game. Not only 24 hours, last 12 hours. And this is why, despite all the big developments going on, from open banking to digital APIs to all digital wallets that we're going to discuss today, I'm going to focus on 4 big trends. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And give you the latest developments on this topic. And hopefully then we can decide on what can be the impact and whether these will be in the crystal ball in the future. But before we go and talk about the future of money, it's very important we talk about the history of money, because it always repeats itself. If we think about elements like bartering, like we started back in the day, of course, it was useful, but even a small economy with only 1,000 goods, you need 500,000 prices. That's why we invented money, with a good old 3 pillars of definition of money that every economist and everybody learns in college. But what's exciting is that what we, as an ecosystem, as an industry, believe fits this definition changes over time. For a long time, it was cattle. The word, by the way, pecuniary, comes from the Latin pecus, which means cattle. Then we went to salt. For many, many years, actually, salt was really one of the biggest definition of money that we're using. The word salary actually comes from the word salt. And even we sing here today, we'll talk about Dash and Bank with their new digital wallet named after salt as well. And then obviously we went to animal skins and fur. In the US, where we're having elections today, we talk about give me $2, $3. The word bucks comes from the bucks. And obviously then we had cacao beans for a very long time in Latin America, one of the most successful forms of money. By the way, where we started having the first kinds of forgery, where forgers would take cacao beans, open up, fill them with mud, and mix them with cacao beans. And we had then cowrie shells, very, very popular in Africa, probably the most successful form of money we've had in the history of money. Today, those of you in Ghana, currency named after this. Even in China, the word bei, that's a form of a cowrie shell. And by the way, this stopped because of quantitative easing, not because of central banks at the time, but because of Europeans who were taking these from Maldives and dumping them on the African market. Then obviously we had China discover coins and really make coins mainstream. Very interesting, by the way, with China. I spent many years of my life in China. They were one of the few nations that didn't use precious metals. No gold, no silver. A lot of their actually coins were made out of bronze, which, by the way, encouraged counterfeiting. But also one of the few ones that would never put the face of an emperor or a leader on money, which makes it very difficult for us collectors in the space to actually date them. But actually why they had this form is it allowed actually to have maybe 50 coins, put them on a string, and be able to use them in commerce. Then we had developments like the rice stones in the Pacific Ocean today that were probably one of the biggest use of form of wealth, of money. By the way, they're in high demand still because a lot of central banks have to love them and have to have them in their lobby. I just saw them in Canada last week. Then obviously we had one of the seigniorage was invented, where rulers actually realized that actually if they put their face on money, they're actually able to actually create money and actually become rich. Lydian Empire, where today's Turkey, Armenia are, the best example, where the electrum they created was 75% silver, 25% gold, and actually gave a lot of wealth to the nation. Being rich like Croesus came from that time. And actually, by the way, very interesting, it was at that time when we discovered commerce. Because of actually the first money we created, we're having the first stores that were invented. Paper currency. By the way, pioneered by the Chinese, for one big benefit they had was any gold and silver that was coming in the Chinese empire at the time belonged to the emperor. Something we'll talk about when we talk about central bank digital currencies. Wampums were used across North America. By the way, they were legal tender when America, as we know today, was built, was discovered. The gold standard to the first US dollar bills. By the way, called the greenback, because at the time we figured we're never going to be able to print in color, so let's do it in green so they cannot be copied. So obviously Bretton Woods in 1944, where the US dollar became the reserve currency, where World Bank and other organizations were actually invented, to the end of the gold standard in 1971 with Nixon, to then digital payments. Where actually we had this whole wave of innovation come up. Banks like CIB in Egypt, Access Bank in Nigeria, I just saw outside, really coming and continuing with this pioneering of bringing digital banking in our daily ecosystem. Fintan mentioned how we went from debit cards and checks to actually start innovating more. And really, as this innovation was happening, this is when, 14 years ago, this week, on Halloween Day, a little document appears on the internet. 6 weeks after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, day for day. Where for the first time, this person, we don't know what it is, Satoshi Nakamoto, a man, a woman, a group of people, we don't know, puts this 8-page document online. By the way, this is a Nobel Prize in economics for sure. But for some stupid reason, the Nobel Committee does not give a Nobel Prize if you're dead or we don't know who you are. And what happens then? For the first time, we're able to have transactions that instead of going via financial intermediaries like we all have today, you're able to do it peer-to-peer. That means I can send value to Fintan without having any intermediary. And what's remarkable here is that every single transaction is public, which causes a lot of issues. But also that the monetary policy is very clear. That every 10 minutes, we have 6.25 Bitcoin that are created. No quantitative easing, no ability to print money, very, very clear from that perspective. But also that every transaction is public. This is, by the way, one piece of advice I give to everyone. If you want to do something illegal, do not use Bitcoin. You will 100% get caught because every single transaction is public. This is why when you see criminals be arrested, they're always arrested with cash, which is the most private form of payment that we still have today. And obviously, this whole industry of digital assets has grown over the last couple of years. But this is why all this led to some of the 4 big developments I want to talk to you guys about today. The first one is really the rise of stablecoins. What is a stablecoin? If today I send you a Bitcoin, it's great, but you don't know what the price will be a week, a month, a year from now. What is a stablecoin? It's a digital currency that is backed by good old fiat money. If I send you $1 in stablecoin, it's worth $1 today, it's worth $1 next week, next month, and next year. You'll say, yeah, but what's the point of this? Why is it going so quickly? Well, actually, if you look at the whole spectrum of digital assets that we have, it's actually one of the core pillars. And it's growing very quickly. Today, we have over $140 billion in stablecoins. To put things in perspective, at the beginning of COVID, where Fintan was mentioning earlier, there was less than $5 billion in assets. And this is, by the way, the down market. It used to be $200 billion a couple of weeks ago. And there's a lot of benefits here. For example, I'm able to send payments cross-border instantaneously and at 24/7 basis. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Hong Kong, was trying to send money to my family in Canada. It doesn't work on a Sunday. I don't know. Maybe my bank goes to church. I have no idea. But the beauty of stable coins, you can send them anytime, anywhere. But this is when you think about the impact it can have on emerging markets, on remittances. And this is why some companies have decided, okay, is this an opportunity to really change the game? Put the audio, please, yeah.
And these? Technology has improved the world around us. So why is it simple to send one of these anywhere in an instant, but not money?
Bartering to shell, to gold, to money.
What if we made money truly global, stable, and secure? What if everyone was invited to the global economy with access to the same financial opportunities? Introducing Libra, a new global currency designed for the digital world, backed by the belief that money should be fast for Ope in Lagos, simple for Saul's family business in Manila, and secure for Betsabe when sending money home to Mexico City. It's powered by blockchain, making it safe and accessible, no matter who you are or where you're from. So join us as we move towards a world where money works for everyone. This is Libra, and it's just the beginning.
This is Libra, and it's just the beginning. The project or the idea was to be able to send money as easy as sending a WhatsApp message today cross-border. Why is it in 2022? I can send you a WhatsApp, a message, an email right now in 2 seconds for free. But if I want to send money, ooh la la, it becomes so problematic on a cross-border basis. Of course, Libra didn't mention, and I'll come back about Meta in a second. But it really showed that actually how this transformation of money is meant to be and actually could become very disruptive. And we've had a whole range of actually companies that have been trying to do this right now. Privately held companies. From Tether, for example, to actually a lot of the ones that are actually regulated today by US regulators. Ironically, over 95% of stablecoins right now are in US dollars. But let's look at a problem that affects many of us. Remittances. The fact that today the average cost of cross-border payment is 7%. By the way, this is if we include the G20 countries. And how can be the impact on the whole remittance industry? And this is why then, but also there's other broader problems as well. Many of us face the risk of dollarization. In many countries where we don't trust the central bank, obviously the economy becomes dollarized. What we're seeing today in Turkey, we saw in parts of Latin America and Africa as well. And this is why there's a very big fear from central banks. Because if it's easy already for an economy to be dollarized, and it can be even easier with stable coins, what is the risk that it can create for the national economy? And this is why over the last couple of months, really we've seen the rise of stable coins, and it's growing very, very quickly. But what could be the impact on your business? Let me move on to the second point, central bank digital currencies. Today, if you're a central banker and you love Bitcoin, you're crazy. This is a bit like a taxi driver being excited to see Uber come in their market. But actually, central bankers are smarter. They said, maybe we don't like Bitcoin, but we like a lot of the features of digital currencies. And they said, why don't we issue a digital currency that has a lot of those properties that Bitcoin has, but one that we control? And if you take a step back, and you think, again, going back to economics books, today there's really two kinds of central bank money. Good old physical cash, and the reserves that the lovely banks hold at the central banks. And what's really exciting is that all of us in the room today, we are the lucky generation who will see the appearance of a third form of central bank money, the CBDC. And obviously there's a lot of benefits here for policymakers. Think about the visibility of monetary policy. In a CBDC economy, I can tell you right now what is the exact economic activity in a city like Dubai and how much people are spending in restaurants. Live. I don't need 3 months GDP estimates. Or think about the black economy and tax evasion. Even in countries like Europe, like Greece and Italy, up to 30% of payments are happening in cash. Not because the Italians love cash, in many cases, it's to avoid taxes. Or think about corruption and money laundering. One of the big reasons China is pushing for this. Corruption with money, pretty much the envelope full of cash, becomes pretty much impossible in a CBDC economy. Why? Again, because it's traceable. Or think about embedding monetary policy. In the United States, for example, every American got $1,400. What if you make money expirable? I give you the money, and if you don't use it, I take it back. And this is all possible with CBDCs. And this is why you're having increased activity by central banks around the world on CBDCs. I can tell you I've had the privilege to train many of the regulators and central banks over the years, and I can tell you central banks are very advanced on this topic. Case in point, 9 out of 10 right now are done not only research, but are actively looking at this topic. And many countries, from Nigeria to the Bahamas to China, really we've seen amazing, a lot of these CBDCs are currently live. And there's obviously two different types of CBDCs that can have an impact on the business. One of them is obviously wholesale CBDC, which is between the central bank and member banks, which makes the RTGS system or whatever system we have in the back end a bit more efficient. But where this becomes game-changing, especially when you talk about payments, is when you talk about the retail CBDC space, where consumers, for the first time, can hold banknotes, but in a digital format. Central bank money that instead of being in your physical wallet, becomes in your digital wallet. And this is where things are becoming very interesting. Think about economies like China today. In China, just last week, announced a new pilot where over 360 million people in 4 provinces were going to go live with the ECNY, adding to the 400 million they already have. If you're a country that does trade with with China, whether in Africa, the Middle East, or other parts, it's quite an important topic to look at. Especially if you think the One Belt, One Road, 65 countries, China has made it very clear that today, while technologically they can actually export the ECNY, their central bank digital currency, they have no intention of doing so right now from a policy perspective. Could that change? We'll see. But I can tell you one thing, is that CBDCs will become mainstream in our professional lifetime. How will this impact our business? Which brings on to even more disrupting topic, decentralized finance, DeFi. What is DeFi? DeFi is delivery of financial services with no intermediary. That means that people can conduct financial services with no need of us in the room. You'll say, come on, how is this possible? What is this DeFi thing? How big can this thing be? What services can they offer? Actually, quite a lot. From payments, to borrowing, lending, to asset management, even insurance, purely using smart contract code. That means I can trade with somebody, or I can borrow land, my counterparty being literally smart contract code. Not centralized, no risk, and the code executes as I tell them to. It's open source, everybody can see it. And this, you say, okay, how big is this thing? I mean, is it really small? Well, to put things in perspective, again, on January 1, 2020, there was less than $1 billion in DeFi. Now, we're 50 times that in less than 2 years. And what this means is actually really allows us to even rethink how financial services are delivered in many regards. For example, today, this is open to anybody. Allows really rethink about a first principle basis to financial services. And really imagine how we can deliver these services. The big thing also is that it changes who we have as clients in our businesses. Today, let's say we're doing B2C payments, there's an individual, like KYC, who comes on the platform. But what if I start there's more and more companies operating using smart contract code, like a DAO, which is literally a legal entity. Think about a B2B business that you have at the bank, but actually instead of having a normal company, you're facing a company that is purely smart contract code. Where actually decisions, instead of being like a CEO who makes decisions, is done by the people who hold a token of that decentralized autonomous organization. You may say, come on, this is so stupid. How big can this thing be? Actually, quite a lot. And what's really remarkable, countries have started even giving legal status to these entities. In the US is a very good example. For example, in the state of Wyoming right now in the US, I could set up a company where instead of having my articles of association that explains how my board of directors will work and when my AGM will take place, that is written in code. And that has rule of law. It actually has legal status. I can tell you as a lawyer, somebody's been taught in law schools for many years, no lawyers are being trained right now in how to read smart contract code. So this is why you're seeing a lot of banks experiment right now with DeFi. Last week, the Central Bank of Singapore announced a new project where some of their big banks are now directly doing FX trading and government bond trading using DeFi. No centralized counterparty. So what would be the role of us? DeFi is here to stay. Even if you look at digital assets and the crash that took place in the last couple of years, last year, even yesterday when one of the big exchanges crashed, DeFi is operating as it should. because it's code and it's out there. Which brings me to my final topic, which is probably the one that will be the most impactful, is what's happening in the world of Web3 and the metaverse. I know it's a very sexy topic, people are talking about it all the time, but this could have a big impact in the payment space and the financial services space. And if you take a step back, we went from the early days of the internet, probably a time where Fintan started programming his ATMs, to actually going to the Web 2.0, where we went to use the internet as a Yellow Pages book, to having a Web 2.0 where there's big tech platforms that control the ecosystem. As was mentioned, I have 500,000 followers on LinkedIn. I produce content on a daily basis. Tomorrow, if LinkedIn doesn't want me, they cut me off. If it happened to US president, it can happen to anybody. And this is why we're seeing a big trend of move towards Web 3.0, Web 3, where it's actually open, trustless, permissionless, but also that as a user, I own my data. Think about all the efforts banks and regulators have been doing to have open APIs, open banking. This is a natural feature of it. And this can have a really, really big impact because it really changes the game. For example, when you're watching a YouTube video, why are you not being paid for a time you spend watching a YouTube video and not spending it on a different platform? And these are all things that you will be able to do over the next couple of years as you own your data and you're able to monetize your time. And this also happen at the same time where we're having a rise of non-fungible tokens, NFTs. What is an NFT? NFTs are digital tokens that are blockchain native, unique, and non-fungible. What this means is that for the first time, we're able to have an asset where we can mathematically prove that that asset is unique. In the past, this obviously volumes have been growing up tremendously in the last couple of years. But really what it makes is that actually whatever asset that I have is fully traceable and is tradable as well. Think about forget financial services. Think about the world of art. Today somebody will go to a gallery. Why? Because you want to have the provenance, the authenticity of that piece. Or if you want to buy land, for example, which is, by the way, a big problem in many countries when there's no titling of the pieces of property. Here, my birth certificate could be an NFT. No need of having those stupid certified true copies where you go to a lawyer, pay them stupid fees. Or think about when you're buying land or a house. Or today we have conveyancing or notaries in civil law countries to prove that the title is clean. With this, I can sell a piece of land to Fintan. He knows exactly I own it. He knows at what price I bought it, and a transfer can happen immediately. And this can have an impact on a broad range of things we're looking at. Think about land titles in Africa, where we have a big problem, or across the Middle East. And this is why actually this really started in a very stupid way. Literally started in Waterloo, Canada, when literally fresh graduates invented this thing called the CryptoKitties, which was a digital cat, but that you know that this cat is unique, and you're the only one that has this particular cat. This one, by the way, sold for over $100,000 US. But many of you, I'm sure, as a kid, you were collecting things, whether it's running shoes, sports cards. But then the problem is, often when something became valuable, they would do reruns or print some more. Whereas with this, you know it's the only unique one. And when people often get old, they want to start showing off, they put their name on a building to show to their community how successful they've been. But with this, you can show off to the rest of the world for the rest of eternity. And actually, this has really taken off for the last couple of years. Sports clubs, businesses, B2C businesses got into this. The NBA really brought this mainstream, where you're able to buy a couple seconds of your favorite dunk of your LeBron James and actually be able to own that limited edition dunk video of your favorite player. We started having pieces of art being sold. This piece that you see was sold for $69 million. But what this means, it can also be tokenized into 10,000 pieces, and I can own 1/10,000th of this piece. And by the way, when it's sold, I automatically get the royalty when it's sold, immediately, on the spot. And this is really continuing to grow and giving rise to many business models. For example, this NFT you see on the bottom right, left, the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, when you have it, you have the legal right to use a commercial picture. People start opening restaurants and beer companies with that logo, for example. Really rethinking how these services are being offered. And obviously, this whole marketplace is booming. But this is where this combined, DeFi, NFTs, and then the combination of the metaverse is where this gives rise to 1 + 1 = 3 relationship. What is the metaverse? A term that is being thrown a lot these days. It is 3D ecosystems where I'm able to interact with others digitally in either avatar formats or others. And this really became popularized when, again, coming back to Facebook, Meta, he gets a lot of crap these days, but really when he changed the company's name from Facebook to Meta, where he had a vision of how he wants to actually see and how he believes interactions will take place. Take a look at this.
Today, we're going to talk about the metaverse. I want to share what we imagine is possible. The experiences you'll have, the creative economy we'll all build, and the technology that needs to be invented, as well as how we're going to all do this together.
You're here!
The next platform and medium will be even more immersive.
Like a shop.
Some call it skill.
Keep talking.
An embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse. Everything we do online today, connecting socially, entertainment, games, work, is going to be more natural and vivid.
Whoa, all right, that's a little too realistic.
Now this is more my style. We believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet. And you're going to be able to do almost anything you can imagine. All right, perfect.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Mark. What's up, Mark?
This place is amazing.
The feeling of presence. This is the defining quality of the metaverse. You're going to really feel like you're there with other people. You'll see their facial expressions, you'll see their body language, maybe figure out if they're actually holding a winning hand. All the subtle ways that we communicate that today's technology can't quite deliver.
I knew you were bluffing.
Avatars will be as common as profile pictures today, but instead of a static image, they're going to be living 3D representations of you. Beyond avatars, there is your home space. Your home is your personal space from which you can teleport to anywhere you want.
Koi fish that fly? That's new.
This is wild.
The metaverse isn't something we're building so much as it's something we're building for.
Across the industry, we need to bring that same imagination and commitment to building for interoperability, openness, safety, and privacy as we do for all the other product aspects of the metaverse. These have to be fundamental building blocks, just like the other software and experiences that we've been talking about. Our hope, though, is that if we all work at it, then within the next decade, the metaverse will reach 1 billion people, host hundreds of billions of dollars of digital commerce, and support jobs for millions of creators and developers. We are fully committed to this. It is the next chapter of our work, and we believe for the internet overall. Beyond the constraints of screens, beyond the limits of distance and physics, beyond any one company, and that will be made by all of us. And I'm just incredibly energized to be on this journey with all of you.
That was fun.
Good job, Mark.
And this may look a bit crazy. You'll say, come on, this is stupid. I'd rather meet in person like this. Have you asked the question to your kids? Many of you, they're in YouTube videos, you're actually interacting with others in a digital format, very, very different from what we were used to in our generation. And the important thing here is that this kind of metaverse communities had been around for many years. Games like Second Life have had 30, 40 million monthly active users. To gaming, I'm sure many of you look at your kids when they play games like Roblox, Counter-Strike, League of Legends. As we speak, there's a big gaming conference that is bigger than many of the financial conferences going on in Dubai. In many of the esports tournaments right now, the prize awards are bigger than the in-person competitions of sports. Why? Because this brings the entire world together. Whether you're in Ghana, you're in Australia, you're in Canada or in Russia, you can play this game and interact in a true global metaverse ecosystems. There's thousands of people making a living in these virtual ecosystems. And really think about creating new experiences that we can have on simple things like art, to education. We all saw how our kids were learning with Zoom over the COVID time. To actually really reimagine stories, how we're training people, university campuses, to corporate headquarters, fully in this metaverse ecosystem. But what I want to bring the point here says, in the same way that the internet was great to get information, and then payments came in, the metaverse that's coming up will also need financial services. People are already starting to buy items, selling items, making a living in these platforms. Depending on who you look at these great consultants, it's another opportunity that is worth $1 trillion to $5 trillion, according to McKinsey, over the next decade or so. And there's already a lot of these transactions going on. People are buying for a couple $1,000s even, virtual purses. You may say, why do you need this? You know, I've been teaching fintech and crypto for many years at universities. At the beginning of each of my classes, I ask my students, what is the most valuable asset they have? These are young guys, 18, 19, 20 years old. You know what is the number one answer? Their video game skins. The assets they have in their video games. Something that we often forget. So as this generation, like Finton's graph showed, the transfer of wealth, and these individuals are happy for having a digital first asset. How is that going to evolve over the next couple of years? People like my father love real estate. Because why? Because they can go touch it. We got comfortable with digital payments. What's going to happen to our kids? And the problem is here, a lot of these digital payments can also happen using DeFi and NFTs, where we don't require centralized players. And this is why you're seeing a lot of companies enter the space, trying to say, okay, how is this going to impact our business? Even regulators. 10 minutes from here, Dubai set up the world's first crypto-specialized regulator, who also became the first regulator to set up a presence in the metaverse, to see how they can regulate these ecosystems. Countries like Barbados became the first country to set up an official embassy in these metaverse ecosystems. What are we going to do with payments? Again, as Mark Zuckerberg said, if this is a natural evolution of the internet, how will it impact us? And by the way, you may say, what is this Henri guy talking? This is crazy. We're never going to go into this. This is just stupid. Let me remind you, less than 20 years ago, this happened with somebody who was way younger than Bill Gates.
But you know, I think about this, and what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage, companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but you know, it's easy to criticize something you don't fully understand, which is my position here.
Go ahead.
But I can remember a couple of months ago, there was like a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet or on some computer deal, they were going to broadcast a baseball game. You could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell? You know what I mean? It's just...
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
It's not a huge difference.
What is the difference?
But you can listen to the baseball game whenever you want.
Right.
Too.
Oh, I see. So it's stored in one of your memory deals,
Exactly.
and then you can come
That's
back
the
a year
RAM
later.
thing you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Do tape recorders ring a bell? Yeah, I just don't know. What can you, just knowing me the little you know me now, what am I missing here? What do I need?
Well, if you want to learn about the latest cigars or auto racing statistics.
Well, you know, I've got that covered. I subscribe to 2 British magazines devoted entirely to motorsports, and I call the Quaker State Speed Line about 2 times a half hour. So now, would the computer give me more than I'm getting that way?
Oh, you can find other people who have the same unusual interests you do, and.
You mean the troubled loner chat room on the internet?
Absolutely.
And this is why it's important. At the same way people were laughing at Bill Gates literally 15, 20 years ago, where the internet was seen as this place where weird people used to go, we're having the same laughs on the metaverse now. What are these places where we go, even we cannot even see legs? But again, this will become mainstream. So how do we actually get ready for this? What can we do to get ready? A lot of things actually, should we explore partnerships? How can we actually partner with the right partners who will be that bridge as we move on? Fintan said very well that. Actually, what are the partners that we can have that as we know the industry will evolve? We don't know where the crystal ball is, but we know that we're going to evolve with them. How actually can we, even within organizations, create this culture of intrapreneurship, where we encourage people to try, innovate, especially, by the way, your younger member of your staff, who actually are dealing with this reality on a day-to-day basis. How do we encourage experiment, even failure? People to try new things, try to experiment some of these ecosystems. But the most important thing that I cannot emphasize this enough is being educated on it. Spending some time to understand these changes. Coming to great conferences like today, where organizers are very kind enough to actually share some of this information, to empower you and be ready for these changes going on. Because like I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know and we don't know what the future will look like. We don't know what that crystal ball will be. But I can tell you, from when we started talking about the history of money to now, what we see as being normal and the status quo has evolved. And I'm going to leave you with this final video, hopefully to make you laugh.
Redskins, dodo heads, tepid lemonade. Get out of it. Redskins, dodo heads, tepid lemonade.
Hey, mate, I'll take 5 of your Redskins and one of those tepid lemonades.
It's one chicken, mate. It's not a chicken.
No, that's much better than a chicken, my friend. That is gold.
What?
Gold. The currency of the future.
Great, come back in the future. Redskins,
No, mate, I don't think you understand. This has unlimited use.
Can I eat it?
No.
Can I wear it?
No.
Can I use it as firewood?
No.
Starting to sound pretty limited, mate.
But you can melt it and then turn it into whatever you want.
Can I turn it into food?
No, you can't eat it.
Is this going to take long?
Hold on your horses, mate. We are dealing in futures here.
Oh, what's that? Is that a rock?
No, worse, it's cold.
Oh, cold. How do I get some cold?
Gold. I have people mining for it.
Oh, you have people. La-dee-da. We got a rich one here, eh? What do you pay them with?
Gold.
Next.
No, they say that this currency could be worth 1,000 Ratskins, maybe even more, in just a few years.
Says who?
The people with gold.
Fuck. Next.
Look, every economy ever has been controlled by the big chicken banks.
Next.
And this is our opportunity to get out from under the big chicken boots,
Fuck me.
shake up the market, and start taking back our economic independence. Are you with me?
No.
Really? Come on, man. Look, all my mates are doing it.
I'll just get your hand off it, all right? Everyone's trying to predict the next alt rock. First it was stone, then bronze, then iron, now gold. What can I even do with this shiny shit? Make fucking jewelry out of it or something?
Yes, you can do that. Great idea, because it's malleable. And, best part of all, there's fuck all of it. It's a finite resource.
Mate, I'll tell you what a finite resource is. My fucking patience, right? Now, piss off!
You know what? Stuff it. I'm taking it back. It's like talking to my dad.
Yeah. Why don't you go discover avocado and smash it on toast, you dickhead?
Yeah, maybe I will.
Sorry, mate.
I'll have a dodo head, thanks.
Half a chicken. Piss on me, not you two.
Oh, no. This is way better than gold. It's silver, or as I like to call it, light gold cash. It's faster to mine. It's...
Got to be the last one, surely.
Gotta be the last one, surely, and it's clearly not. Guys, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Hopefully this way, again, I don't know what the future will look like, again, but hopefully this was insightful. If you want to follow me, you can find me on social media, a lot of my content, also my latest book that just came out. Thank you very much for CR2, and guys, enjoy the rest of the day. I'll be around and happy to chat with you all. Thank you.